I realized if I don't step out and attempt to do what I'm passionate about, what's been on my mind for years, I'm going to regret it.
Welcome to Design Your Life in Business, the podcast for leaders by Bright Mind Consulting Group. We give you the necessary tools to help you become the architect of not just your business, but your life too. I'm your host, Jevon Wooden. Hey, Carla, what's going on? How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming out to the gallery.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. We are at Bisong Art Gallery here in Houston, Texas. Make sure you check it out. If you haven't already, you can see some of the pieces that are behind us. It's absolutely beautiful. Carla, I'm so grateful and so thankful. This has been a long time coming. First question I want to ask you is, who are you?
I am someone who loves art, and I am drawn to art. I'm drawn to artists, and I decided I really wanted to have a career in the art industry, even though I didn't know what that looked like at first. But as I kept learning more about being an art gallery owner, learning more about being an art dealer, then I figured out a way to become one.
That's pretty awesome. Now, this is when we talk about male-dominated fields.
Yes.
This is definitely a male-dominated field. So how did you get in it? And talk us through some of the obstacles you faced along the way.
Mm-hmm. And funny enough, I didn't have a background. I didn't study art in college. I went to university and studied finance and business. And so I took the road first of having a career in finance, and I worked in the investment banking world for a while and just kept going to art galleries, kept talking to artists, kept talking to art dealers, just being more and more intrigued. And finally, I realized one day, I think I'm going to open a gallery, keep my day job because I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to
fund that dream.
You have to fund the dream and learn more and more. I knew I had a large learning curve. So I kept studying, going to art fairs, traveling, going out of the country, domestic art fairs, and just keep learning. And I decided, well, I know also a lot of great artists. So I'm going to just open up the space, bring them in, serve wine, serve appetizers, and have people come in and just enjoy what's happening. And if we sell some pieces, that would be amazing. But even if we just have that dialogue, I would be happy with that as well. And before I knew it, after exhibition, it just kept growing, the contacts. This is a big relationship industry. And so I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy talking about what I'm passionate about. And one great thing about art is many people from all different backgrounds who love art come together and talk about it and enjoy it. And so it wasn't hard to make those connections, and we just gravitate toward each other.
That's pretty dope. And yes, and when you talk about it, everyone has like a different, vision and understanding of what's taking place in the art. Mm-hmm. So how did you develop that eye to know exactly what pieces you wanted in your gallery?
It took a long time of looking at a lot of art, and my eye has developed throughout the years as well too. The more that I even speak with artists, I even spoke with art educators too. So there are certain things that, let's just say the word color theory. So the word color theory means there are certain colors that complement each other. And then there's also consistency and technique. And so when someone says, I like abstract work, but I don't understand it. Mm-hmm. After a while, you can develop your eye to know that certain artists have that understanding of color theory, of technique, of what looks cohesive. And then the artists that might just not go that direction and doing their own thing. They always say there's no wrong or right way, but understand the rules in order to break them. And so I know the rules.
I love that. Understanding the rules in order to break them. Mm-hmm. Now, you are someone who I consider really a change maker, someone who has paved the way in this field. So tell us a little bit more. You just donated to, was it Prairie View?
Yes.
Right? So tell us a little bit more about how important it is to give back.
Yes. Another artist friend of mine, Lauren Luna, and I formed what we call the Dream Effect Foundation. And so we do exhibitions and do fundraising activities to raise funds to donate to art students, many times minorities, and then also individuals who want to have their first art exhibition, but they don't have the cost or the materials to create the work. Many people don't realize to even put together a cohesive show, it costs. It's
yes.
not, art supplies is not cheap.
Right. I went into the store one day and looked at one of these boards and I was like, wait, what?
Right. And I have many friends that their family or friends will say, hey, well, you love to create, so just make me something. And one friend said, okay, I will, for your birthday, or because it's a gift, you're somebody I care about, I will create something for me, but do me a favor, go into the art supply store and this is what I need for you to pick up. And when they went in and bought the supplies, they were like, I had no idea. And she said, I did that on purpose because I just really need you to value not only my talent, which you love and I appreciate, but what goes into what I'm just gifting you. We're not out here just diddly daddling around.
Absolutely.
It is an investment. And also those who pursued a higher education in art and received their master's. As my partner her and I are doing the Dream Effect Foundation, she has her master's and she noticed in her class studying art, there weren't many minorities. And so that was her passion in saying, I want to help more minority students pursue art as a degree. And sometimes in our community, if we do have support from our parents, they're saying, no, you better be an engineer, a nurse, a doctor, or something.
Make that
money. I'm not going to spend this for you to get an education so you can draw. And so, when I meet a parent who's being very supportive of their artist child, I just want to give them a hug because it's so important to have that support. But I definitely understand we don't always have it.
Yeah, and that's something, as like my nephew, he loves drawing. And I always said, like, we have to cultivate that gift because I myself, I put pen to paper in my mind. I'm drawing something amazing. On paper, it looks terrible, right?
Similar with me. People ask, am I an artist? I say, I stay in my lane. So I love the business side of it. I love connecting art admirers with artists. And I love teaching business skills to artists who want those skills. But no, I'm not showing anyone what I can do. No one wants to see what I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all right. You are making an impact in a different way. Earlier, you mentioned that you were in investment banking.
Mm-hmm.
So what did that transition look like? And I believe, was it Goldman Sachs?
Yes.
Yeah. So you worked for Goldman Sachs. A lot of people would be like, wow, what? You are tripping. I know you're making money. So what really was the catalyst to make that transition for you?
Goldman Sachs is a great opportunity. Let me start there. It was a great opportunity and so many great benefits of working for that company. I do feel some people have other issues with the organization, but the department I was in, natural resources, I was surrounded by, even though they're professionals, they were geologists, petroleum engineers, and we supported the bankers and some of the decisions that they made. And I really looked ahead and saw the people retiring from the industry, just oil and gas or banking. And it just wasn't for me. I didn't see myself being in that industry until 65 plus and then retiring. So I felt life is short. You have to do what you're passionate about, but you also do have to make an income. And I realized if I don't step out and attempt to do what I'm passionate about, what's been on my mind for years, I'm going to regret it.
Yes.
And so I read a book. It's slipping my mind the title of it, but it was a woman who said that she worked in hospice and talked to people their last final days, final weeks. And they said the number one regret was living a life according to other people's standards.
Yes.
And that stuck with me that, yes, it's prestigious to work with one of the top investment banking firms in the world. Yes, it's prestigious to be able to make, quote unquote, more than a certain amount that people say, well, that's a good amount. What do you have to complain about? But I would have been one of those people if I never followed in this dream of wanting to be an art dealer, or if I didn't even have a gallery, assist people in acquiring art. I could have been just only an art consultant without a space, but I would have done something in the art community.
And you know what's more prestigious than working for someone else's organization? Mm-hmm. Building your own the way you have built Bisong Art Gallery.
Thank you.
Yes, no, I got to salute you on that. Now, question is, what are some of the next things? How do you foresee growing Bisong Art Gallery, if that's in your vision?
Yeah, a bigger space. Of course, the bigger space, the more we can show, the more artists we can recommend. So there are so many talented artists that many galleries, we're small business owners, even though we're in the gallery world and people think that that's also amazing. And all we do is sit around and drink wine and look at art all day long, but we still are small business owners. And I receive artist submissions probably 10 a day. So in a week, I mean, close to 100 artists want to work with me, and I
Wow.
would love to work with probably 20 of those that I receive.
Mhm.
But just because of resources, just because of also building our relationship with collectors, it wouldn't make sense to have a roster of working with 100 artists and we're still building with our collectors. So it's important to have that equal supply and demand as well.
Mhm.
And so as we grow, as we continue to build our team, get a bigger space would be amazing. Show more art, work with more artists. We have a lot of art in corporate collections. So there is a JP Morgan branch location in Fifth Ward area that we have some original artwork
Wow.
at that location. A few high rises downtown we're excited about, and in Midtown, and many companies. I'm thrilled that they want to support living artists. So that's the goal, to get more living artists in corporate collections.
Now, tell us more about corporate collections.
Mhm.
You mentioned a couple of the spaces that these art pieces may be in, but I'm curious, what does that actually entail and what does that mean?
Sure. So many companies, which is exciting, that they look up and they say, well, we have great facilities, we have top of the line technology, but we're looking at white walls. We know that we need to bring art in. And it also, their studies showed it enhances productivity.
Mhm.
It just gives a better overall boost of morale for artwork to be in a place that people are working. I've been in those places.
Yes.
You work 10, 8 hours a day. And then if you have no inspiration around you, it just gets a bit depressing.
Absolutely, yeah, I get that. Those cubicles, I don't know how people do that.
Not the cubicles.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
I know, it's like waking up, a little PTSD sometimes, waking up and like, okay, I'm not in a cubicle. I'm out. No. And so, it's two type of collectors. There are with corporate and residential. There are collectors who are collecting, this matches the couch or this matches the colors of the office, and aesthetically the artwork just needs to match.
Mhm.
And it needs to liven up the place. But mostly who the artists are semi-important, but we didn't purchase this piece because of the artist. We
Gotcha.
purchased it because of how it looks. And then there are the collectors who are, no, we're building a serious collection. We have a vision in mind of how we want this collection to form. And so we're researching the artist, or maybe this one private collector is like, I want my artwork to have social change as the idea of the collection. So all the pieces, or majority of the pieces I collect, have something to do with the current environment and change for the better, or social change. And so there's so many different ways. There's no wrong or right way, but
Gotcha.
that's the main two collectors that I and my team deal with.
So how does one, I'm just thinking, and I know a lot of people feel like art is something that's not accessible if you don't make millions of dollars. So what are your thoughts on that?
I feel everyone should be surrounded by art and love it. Yes, but there are different categories to it. So I feel there's many art being created, original, one-of-a-kind pieces that are more affordable than, let's say, a Louis Vuitton, handbag, than,
Wow.
Balenciaga shoes. You can, there's some people walking around with $3,000 on their feet.
Yes. Yes.
So
which is
if
insane
that's
to me still.
if that's important to that person, again, no judgment, but sometimes they're able to just, hey, I dropped that. That's no big deal. Or someone, I value it so much. This whole year, when I turn 40, I'm going to have my first, whatever that item is. That can still be for art. I really appreciate, I am drawn to this artist's artwork. I either have it to just purchase it, acquire it, it's no big deal, or save up for it. We take a 3-payment installment plan. So if someone is on a limited budget, but they can foresee that, yeah, I can afford it, but can you just work with me? Of course.
Awesome.
Of course. We
Okay.
definitely work with our collectors.
See, it is accessible, so don't think that
Yes.
you can't. So come in on Bisong Art Gallery, get your piece.
And many artists create prints or
Mhm.
limited edition reproduction of an original piece. So find out if the artist makes, the original might be $10,000, but a print could be $500.
Got you.
And so it's not the original, but you can still have what you love and support the artist.
Yeah, and then you mentioned earlier that when we were talking about the corporate spaces and collectors, that sometimes it's not about the artist. But how does artists get to that point where people are absolutely just clamoring over their pieces?
Great question. many different routes. And I compare it to fashion in some sense.
Mhm.
What it is, let's go to fashion. Let's just say a Fruit of the Loom t-shirt is at certain point, it's accessible, it's in Walmart, and people are easily able to grab it because it's just easy to get to. But then that same cotton from a different factory, you put Versace on it. Now it's just at a different level.
Mhm.
It's the name behind it. It is known as prestigious. And so that is why it's well sought after. But like you just said, when you mentioned earlier, you don't see why someone would want to go after that brand. But that's not what you value.
Right.
You value other things
Exactly.
that you will say, okay, maybe your equipment, maybe your home is just like, no, that's what I'm gonna put my value in.
Absolutely.
And with an artist, being out there, it really helps to get into publications where art writers are talking about the artist, getting that recognition. Certain exhibitions will get noticed more, being in museums get noticed more. So it is the path that they take. And I asked the artists when I first work with them, what are your dreams? What are your visions? Because I want to make sure not to put words in your mouth.
Gotcha.
Some commercial artists really just say, I just want as many people to have access to my work. So I am okay if my work is on, puzzle pieces and prints, or maybe, on some coffee mugs, but I just want thousands of people to like my art. But that type of art might not be in the museums. So this one artist is like, no, don't dare put my art on a coffee mug. That is just, blasphemous. And they're like, no, I want to be at a museum and I want to be written about in the history books. Again, no wrong or right way. It's just the direction that the artists want to take and how they're going to go about accomplishing those goals.
Gotcha. And you mentioned publications, art publications.
Yeah.
There's probably so many of those, and I've seen you in a few of them. And this is for my artists out there. How do they reach out to those publications and get some time in the books, pretty much?
I recommend, if you are not a good writer, getting someone on your team who's a good writer. So making your art journey interesting. So there's so many talented artists that at times they make the mistake of saying, well, I don't want to tell people what my art is about. You look at it and whatever comes to you, that's the relationship you have with the art. That's fine. But if you want to be spoken of, or you want your vision, your creation to be shared, you have to be able to tell a story. And so that's first and foremost in being able to communicate that dialogue. Have you ever watched a movie and then at the movie you watch the director's cut and you had one interpretation of the movie, and then when the director's cut shows all the symbolism in it and the cinematology was this direction because they wanted your eyes to zone in on this important part, and then you're just like, this is a whole other experience now that the director's cut explained this to me. Similar with art, like I can go in and I can take from it what I take from it, but let's say a museum or a gallery, I read the description and then I listen to an artist interview and then I find out about their backstory, and maybe you find out that they were colorblind and then they made this amazing colorful piece. It's like, how in the world did you create that? And I just found out you're colorblind.
That is true.
It's amazing. It's true. Amazing.
And that's something that I think everyone can take from, especially artists, because you have this one mode and that modality. Yes. But when you do it in so many different ways, you're just really repurposing your content. So I love that you mentioned that. It's probably hard for artists to do that because they're like, I just want to do this. Right. But there's this whole other business side that is really important. Now, I just have to ask you, because technology is changing every industry, it feels like. So how has technology, mainly what we're hearing about today, AI and all this other stuff, is it impacting the art industry?
It is. So there are some museums that have had exhibitions that's all AI exhibition generated art. I can only speak from my experiences and what I'm doing. So personally, I have not had an artist have an AI generated exhibition. Having friends that are attorneys and copyright and intellectual property attorneys, and the little knowledge that I've learned from them, there's just more to understand. So I just want to be a little bit careful. From my understanding, and there might be different programs that do different things, but from my understanding, AI, you communicate to a program, I want a picture of myself on top of a lion in the background, the forest of like middle world Lord of the Rings atmosphere. I just came up with that. That's just the first thing that came out of my mind. Thank you. Thank you. So yes, the picture is of you. And now you're saying that you're the creator of this artwork, but AI, or from my understanding, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, AI forged the internet and went to, who's Lord of the Rings? Is that TK Token something, CL? Sorry, Lord of the Rings fans. Whoever created Lord of the Rings, I feel like it's Token something. Gathered that background that they created from one of their movies or something like that, put that in your image. Then the lion created from another artist that drew the lion and put that in your image. And so you saying, well, I'm the artist of this, but then it took, because it's not generating out of nothing from its own abilities, it's gathering and putting together. And so for me as a dealer, an art dealer, I even have an agreement with my artist. What I show of your artwork, you signed an agreement that it was your creation. You didn't take something off of Instagram and then, put it together and now calling it yours or whatever. And so that is just one small example. Is a whole conversation about AI, but that little part of it is why until we learn more, I'm not showing AI art.
And I completely understand that. Now, there are AI models out there getting paid millions, which I still can't quite grasp. And then there's this other side of technology, and we kind of spoke about this briefly, the NFTs. We don't hear about it anymore, right? So it just kind of faded away. Like people are talking about collecting pieces, right, through NFTs. So what's your take on that and why it just faded like that?
Again, from my experience, the artists who turn their art into NFTs for the purpose of selling, the idea behind it is potentially a great idea to try. Once the artist sells a piece of work, then if it keeps getting sold, then there might be potential that the artist continues to make money. We hear these stories of, let's say you had a best friend who's an artist, and years later you turn around and unfortunately they pass away, then you sell it and then it gets sold again, then it ends up at Sotheby's and it's worth millions of dollars, but the family of that artist may not get anything from it. So potentially NFTs having some coding that, okay, we can keep paying out the original creator. If that's the case, that's a great idea. My understanding is the execution just had a lot of issues and just a lot of other issues. So with my limited understanding, the artists that turned their artwork into NFT, nobody purchased it. And so it was a lot of hoopla on potential, but it just didn't pan out to keep it going strong. Absolutely. So that's kind of why you don't hear about it anymore.
Okay, well, thank you for that insider information, because I was like, man, all these people, all these creators were talking about it, and then I haven't heard about it for months.
Not at all. I had a video on my YouTube channel of someone even explaining to me what it was, and a friend of mine was like, okay, I'm just explain to you, like, this is the block channels, and this is this, and this is that, and then this is how it's NFT. And I was like, thank you for explaining the technical side of it, but I still don't understand a lot of things. And so I just don't invest in anything I don't understand.
Warren Buffett said it best, right?
Yes, if you don't understand it, just let it go.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned like earlier in our conversation about, there's hundreds of artists kind of wanting to work with you. You may only be able to select the select few. So what are some of the things that you look for when you do place a piece on your wall or work with an artist?
Great question. As I've developed more of a professional as well, speaking with other dealers, a few components are very helpful. When we are able to take in a new artist and work with them to represent them, are our personalities also in a line? Do they have a attitude of they want to grow their careers? They want to promote as well. Even the art dealers are helping the artists promote, but it has to be a relationship of communication. Gotcha. So personally, are we on the same page? Do I believe in their work? Do I believe that they have developed a cohesive understanding of where they're going with their art? And many beginning artists, nothing wrong with it as well too, are experimenting. It's fine to experiment, but they haven't developed their signature style yet.
Got you. Okay.
And so I encourage artists, if you have 10 pieces in a room and someone walks in a room, they can say, I understand how one person created all 10 of these works of art. And at times in the beginning of some artists' careers, it's just not cohesive. You can't really understand what direction are they taking.
Right.
So I encourage some artists get started, maybe even show some artwork at a few art fairs or have even some selective smaller exhibitions, maybe a dinner party, just to start practicing talking about your work. How are you communicating, answering those questions, jumping from I created 5 pieces and now I want to go work with the gallery might not be the next best step. Yeah. There are a few steps before that. You're missing a couple of things. So, and that's okay as well too. And finally, I really feel many collectors that are doing extremely well and growing, and they also enjoy consistently making art. Some artists are like, no, every single day or at least every few days, I am working on my craft and I am creating. And there are some artists that no, when I feel the inspiration, and that might be once every 3 months, I'm going to create something.
Right.
For me, it's better to work with the artists that are consistently creating.
Gotcha. And I have a question about, you mentioned living artists earlier. Why is it that so many, well, I mean, outside looking in, it seems like so many artists, they only get the recognition after they are long gone?
Many are before their time. They develop a new technique that's at the old world masters. When we find certain individuals that now the museums will tell us no one was doing this technique during that time. So when they started doing it, the professionals of the time is like, what is this? What you know what I mean? And then the appreciation grows later. And then once they transition on, then there's just that demand is available. They're unable to continue to make more, so the value goes up because that artist is no longer with us.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's kind of like like you said, it's just you only get that one piece, and that's it. At least not counting the prints.
Right. It was who gave an interview one time I was listening to. I think it was Russell Simmons that said when he first heard Outkast, and I'm an older Outkast fan, and he had said he was like, I didn't get it. And when I first heard their sound, I didn't get it. And now look at like how many fans and how many people appreciate that at that time when they were first showing him their vibe and their technique and their sound. It wasn't what was out there at that time. Right. But now he came back and kind of apologized and like, no, they're a big hit and everyone loved them. But when I first sounded, I was like, what is this? Similar to the art community.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and when you're used to a certain thing, right, it is really hard to adapt to change. It's like, what the heck? I can't understand. Like you said, you can't invest in what you don't understand. So, from their standpoint, I completely understand that.
And a lot of dealers have to really go out on the line because we are saying, we would like to believe that we're bringing work out and showing others that we don't see everywhere. And I unfortunately have had to tell artists, you may not fit within a gallery because your work is a little bit too consistent with what a lot of people are already doing. So if I feel what you're showing is something similar to anyone going into the mall or a store by the beach or something that seems similar to something you can get in kind of a souvenir shop, then showing it at a gallery, it's not. Hopefully nobody get mad at me for the words I'm using. I know.
We keep it real on this show, so it's okay.
I'm trying to be very just appreciative of all artists and not trying to say you're not as valuable as this because you're not doing X, Y, and Z. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, again, I like using examples because I feel like people can understand better when I'm using examples. Old Navy just has a consistent pieces of clothing that you can kind of find those pieces of clothing in a lot of places. But then you go into something that is really boutique, that it is that one store that has this couture clothing that somebody made by hand. And like, when you purchase that piece, it's going to be more expensive than the Old Navy. But if anyone is wearing that, it may be a few other people wearing that or so. So if you go to that boutique, you could be great at making clothes, but you're a t-shirt line. And you go to that boutique with your t-shirts, which could be amazing. A lot of people do appreciate a good t-shirt, but the boutique is saying it's just not for us. It doesn't fit, So many artists, before starting the gallery, there was a website called Wet Canvas that a lot of artists went to a forum and talked about their frustrations. And I made sure to read each and every comment because I wanted to know what are the artists' frustrations with the galleries so that I could try my best to address those issues when I'm working with artists or not make some of the mistakes a few others have made. And they felt that a common comment that's made is what's up with all this elitism and what is up with these gatekeepers, which there are and there is. But sometimes people at my level really very pro artists want to be very supportive, and we're even selling artwork to art collectors that it's their very first collection ever. That's the bottom line. We aren't trying to be elitist. We're just trying to say that when someone comes into a gallery to purchase art, they want that boutique experience. They want to build to their collection that's that one of a kind piece, and not the, oh yeah, I saw something very similar to that in the big box stores.
Absolutely. And I completely get that. It's like, what makes it unique where it doesn't look like it's just a print that, they sold at Walmart, right? And I think that a lot of us, artists and workers alike, people who create content, we all can learn from that. It's a lot of us take it personally. When I'm sensitive about my stuff,
I get it.
I'm sensitive, but it's also, we have to learn to listen to the lessons that's in there. Where if you say no and it's, hey, this doesn't fit, and it may not fit in many galleries, what's the lesson I can learn from that? Maybe I haven't found my signature style yet. Because it looks like everyone else's, right? So I think that we just have to dig deeper, remove ourselves and our egos from sometimes just to learn so that we can become better.
Yeah. And it doesn't just stop at the artists. There are art fairs that some galleries will apply to be a part of an art fair that shows galleries. And not every gallery gets into that art fair. So there's certain levels to this that I can apply, and they may say, no, you've only been around 11 years. Wait till you've been around 20 years and you're not working with these billionaire clients, so you can't be in our art fair. So it's levels.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's how just about everything we do is. I mean, I've had my own frustrations where I'm like, man, I'm killing it. I got content for days. I'm on hundreds of podcasts, and then I had to think about it. And I was like, why am I not with this? Where this person is, man. And then I had to sit and realize, I don't see what they do on the back end. That work that they've put in, they've probably been doing it for 10, 20 years. I've been doing it for 5. Who am I to say that I deserve what they have right now?
That's true.
So I'm all for still putting in that work and just learning. And that's why I have firsthand perspective to say I've been in that. It's hard to do it sometimes, but oftentimes you just have to listen and learn that lesson. And then maybe you can find someone who is that in that position to help mentor you and sponsor you, which for me, sponsorship is mentioning your name in the rooms that you're not in, and mentorship is actually showing or helping you learn how to do it.
So true.
Yep. So thank you for sharing that, because
you're welcome.
And I'm sure a lot of people are like, man, that's me. I've been there. So,
we've all been there.
Yeah. So just remember, I'm gonna look at y'all. If you're watching on YouTube, just remember that do not take it personally. Learn the lessons from what people are telling you, because you will expedite your success. And we ain't got time to spend soaking. You got something you want to do, something you want to accomplish. It's not going to be easy, right? There are going to be many obstacles in the way. Just have to push through.
So true.
Absolutely. So we're going to move to the by design segment, where I ask every guest the same 3 questions. You ready?
Okay, ready.
All right, perfect. So first question is, what has been the hardest part about designing a life and business you don't need a vacation from?
Still a work in progress, but enjoying every step of the way. So even each day that I may look at my calendar and it is meeting or just filled up every 30 minutes, I have something to do, realizing that I chose this. This is what I want. Maybe this may be a hectic day, but each and every day I'm finding the small tidbits of enjoyment, and that is amazing to me. And then even some vacations I've gone on, that's even been stressful. So it's not like going on vacation is always just the dream thing, because I've had issues at the airport, or I've had issues, with check-in or something like that too. So life is full of each and every moment, staying in the moment and just enjoying that moment and doing what you have to do, and to stay grounded and focused.
I love that. The second question is, what is the best lesson you've learned so far on your journey?
Trust my gut. I feel the biggest lessons I've had to learn many times is my gut saying one thing. Maybe it's about a person. One example, many examples, but let's just say with people, that I'm either going to collaborate with or something, or potentially an artist or potentially a collector that ended up being someone that was difficult to deal with. Not always just saying, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm just tripping. That person hasn't done anything or whatever, but it's just an energy that sometimes somebody can come in the gallery and the energy is sucked out of the room. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with me? I am probably just jaded from X experiences being in corporate America, and I have no reason to feel the way. And then every time I said that, I was like, that's why they gave me a reason to believe. That's probably why you felt the moment you came around their energy, it was just off. And so now I have learned, trust my gut, and trusting my gut has not stirred me wrong since. And that's recent. I want to say I started developing that within the past 2 years.
That's a major key for a lot of us. Yeah. And I will say, I'm not ashamed to admit it, that women have that gut feeling. It's way stronger than us guys. We need to learn from y'all somehow. I don't know, because y'all are usually always right. Usually always right.
Right.
Yeah. So I listen to my mom, my wife, my sisters. If they say something, I'm like, let me pay attention.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
My spider senses don't always tingle. So
and I think sometimes we just want to feel like, are we just being too hard on people?
Yeah.
Are we? And I feel I can call myself an A-type personality. I know I have high expectations. I know I push myself very hard. So I am trying to be lenient. If somebody's more of a free spirit, that there's also advantages in being a little bit more of a free spirit. So I have, especially working with artists, like, okay, don't force them to be that A-type that I am, and make sure that I'm understanding that they have different advantages, in different ways. But it is a line that you have to pay attention to. That's like, no, that's not it. So I feel like I just take a moment sometimes in making sure, no, your intuition is saying something's not right, as opposed to, Carla, you just have super high expectations of yourself, and you might be expecting that from others as well.
Right. No, I love that distinction. That's a key distinction for sure. Mm-hmm. The third question is, what are 3 tools or tips that you would recommend? And this could be life, it could be business, anything you want to do.
Consistently keep learning. So, I mean, when I'm driving in my car, I got podcasts on. I'm glad we're doing this, because this is the type of podcast I'd be listening to, speaking with other entrepreneurs, audiobooks. When you get to a point in your business, if we're speaking to mostly business owners, don't take too long to get help in any way that you can. So maybe it's not able to hire a team member now, but if you are in an environment that you could teach somebody younger than you, bring in an intern, but provide them with value. Don't bring an intern and like, go get my coffee, go get, truly provide them with value to help them, but then they're also helping you. So an extra set of hands, wherever it can come from, utilize those extra set of hands. So that would be 2. And third, continue to just feed into your spirit. If it's your spirituality, if it's just what you enjoy doing, your hobbies, keep feeding into yourself.
I love it, man. Carla, this has been an amazing conversation, and I'm so happy we got to do it in person.
I enjoyed this.
So next question is, how can people connect with you?
Social media, I'm on Instagram. I have a small YouTube channel I'm growing. The website's great for upcoming events. On March 22nd is our next exhibition. So if you're in the Houston downtown area, visit Bisong Art Gallery. I'd love to see you. Let me know that you saw this podcast, the show, and that would be great. I'd love to, just hear more about you. If you're an artist, I'd love to talk to you and give you some advice, if you'd like it, of some of my experiences. But that would be great. Come out to the next show. You'll have a good time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Once again, you have provided tremendous value, and we got to see some amazing pieces from artists. And remember, designers, keep ascending. See you soon. Design Your Life in Business, the podcast for leaders, is brought to you by Bright Mind Consulting Group. To find out more about Bright Mind Consulting Group and how you can become the best leader possible, visit brightmindconsultinggroup.com. Make sure you search for Design Your Life in Business on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Bright Mind Consulting Group, we cannot thank you enough for listening.